good morning. Isn't reality awful? I mean, more so than usual. It is. So, a great way not to have to deal with reality anymore is to watch movies back to back to back. And if you're saying, Irene, I have Zoom meetings, those are worthless, like most meetings. So just don't go to those, or just have it on, but mute yourself. I mean, there's always just some guy who's coughing every few minutes through it, so, just don't go. Anyway, the movie I'm going to talk about today is a favorite of mine, Young Frankenstein. Oh, if you haven't seen it, I don't know where you've been. This movie is really, really good and famous, and like, why haven't you seen it? But, so this is like, go see it if you haven't seen it. You'll enjoy it. But if, for pretty much everyone else here, it's like, you should rewatch it, because I feel like so many of us probably saw it when we were young, or if you're older, when it came out, whatever. You probably saw it a while ago and you haven't seen it recently. You should see it now, because it's so funny, so funny. And like, what's great about it is that there's just never a moment where it's not funny. Like, there's just very few moments, like, how comedians are like, there's no fat in that comedian's comedy. It's like that, only less obnoxious. Very few moments where just like nothing's happening. It's like, even in the downtime, things are happening, Funny things are happening. Someone will kind of like look at the camera and make a little face, or like Igor is like breaking the fourth wall, or Gene Wilder is screaming, which I think, honest to God, one of the funniest things in the world is someone just shrieking at the top of their lungs, to me. And I think that came from watching this movie as a kid, because I don't think there's anyone who is as good as Gene Wilder at just like going from zero to screaming. And it's like a natural scream, it's like, it's warranted, If you like scary movies, you'll like it, because it just, takes all of these tropes and like themes from scary movies, particularly ones that are like kind of old school, like obviously like Frankenstein. So if you like scary movies, you'll like the movie, because you get scary movies, but it's like classier than like the movie Scary Movie. Anyway, and if you don't like scary movies, it's not actually scary. Except there's this part in the beginning where this guy is taking the will out of like Baron Frankenstein's hands, and he's a skeleton. And I remember it really scaring me as a child, but now it's like, oh, that's fake. Like so many things in life, you fear them as a kid, and then you become an adult and you're like, wow, that's bullshit. What's my favorite scene in that movie? Every single one of them. Of course, I like when the monster sings Puttin' on the Ritz with Gene Wilder. What's fascinating to me is like, Gene Wilder sings in a lot of his movies, and why? Gene Wilder sings in so many of his movies, and I mean, it's fun, it's pleasant, but it's not like astounding. Did you guys ever see that version of Alice in Wonderland where he played a turtle? I think it might have been like a made-for-TV thing. I'm pretty sure Whoopi Goldberg was in it too. But Gene Wilder was a turtle, and he sang this song called Soup, or about soup. And one of the notes was him just going, soup. I think about that a lot when I see Gene Wilder. Oh, God. I loved Gene Wilder as a kid. I loved him. He will always be my Willy Wonka. So, I mean, people can, like, disagree with me on that, but I don't think anyone does, because Johnny Depp did a terrible job. And if you like Johnny Depp, that's fine. I mean, I liked him too when I was, like, a 13-year-old girl. Now I'm not. Now I'm a 40-year-old man. So I'm not a fan of him anymore. No, I just think he like rests a lot on makeup. Okay, we're getting away from it. You should definitely see Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, like the old one, with like Grandpa Joe and his crack nail, and Gene Wilder as Willy Wonka. Anyway, a little off track. Gene Wilder is delightful in everything he does. even if he's a turtle singing soup. And I love him. Oh, Madeline Kahn is so funny. She plays Frederick Frankenstein, or Frankenstein's, I guess, like fiance in the beginning. I'm curious, like, are we really to believe these two have, like, never had sex? I guess that's, like, that's the insinuation, that they haven't had sex with each other, I guess. But it's just, like, these are two older adults. Like, they're not, like, in their 20s adults. I should look that up. I wonder how old Madeline Kahn was. Gene Wilder's definitely, like, at the least, like, in his 30s in this movie, right? I don't know. I should have looked that up before I did this video, but I didn't. So, I don't know. Tell me about it. Talk to me. Let's have a discussion. I gotta keep my face in the light because when I turn away, like, you can see the bags underneath my eyes. Or just smile, and then my fat cheeks just, like, scrunch them up. So often, people talk about, women in movies and, like, what's their agency, and are they just talking about men and whatever. And this is definitely, like, one of those movies where, like, women are just kind of accessories. But honestly, like, Madeline Kahn is a boss, and she is delightful and so funny in this movie. And she's like, she's just, like, so gorgeous, and then she just was, like, not afraid to be just silly, and she's just, like, I guess it's like Gene Wilder, where, like, she would just, like, commit to these really silly kind of weird things, and they just felt, like, so real to who she was and what she was doing. There's a part at the end where she, like, hisses like a snake, and it's like, a delight when she hisses like a snake. And there's a part where she goes, like, in case I get the frights during the night. And I was like, it's so silly. Like, she was, like, so silly and so sexy at the same time. I don't know how people like Madeline Kahn, like, exist in the world, She was just, like, everything. You guys gotta watch this movie. All of you have probably watched it already, but you need to rewatch it because it's so funny, and I guarantee you that, like, after a couple minutes, you won't be thinking about how you haven't showered for a week, or about how your bosses just insists on having meeting after meeting, even though there's no point. You'll forget all about how you've had nothing to eat but, like, blueberry cobbler and, like, Doritos because you can't bring yourself to make a salad, because why would you? You'll forget about how you haven't plucked your eyebrows in a long time. You'll just forget. And that's nice. Isn't that what movies are all about? And I encourage you to watch it with your loved ones or someone who hasn't watched it. My aunt and uncle, there's this great story where my aunt, this is one of her very favorite movies. And my uncle had already seen it, obviously, but when they were first dating, she was like, oh, let's watch Young Frankenstein. And he was like, oh, okay. And he, like, thought she hadn't seen it or something, but she'd seen it so many times. And so while they were watching it, he was watching, and he kept, like, looking over, and she was, like, watching him watch it because she wanted to see, like, his reactions to all of the jokes. So anyway, you could be that person if you watched it with, like, your loved one or a friend who hasn't seen it. You can't watch it with a friend right now because no one's allowed to be together, but, you could. Ooh, or watch it virtually. Oh, or do that thing like in When Harry Met Sally where you're both, like, on the phone and you're watching a movie together. I don't know if anyone ever did that or does that now, but they should. Because that seems like fun, like being on the phone with someone and watching the movie. Although kind of difficult because, for me, I would just be talking constantly, which is an issue I have in life. So anyway, these are my thoughts on Young Frankenstein and why you should watch them. And I'm definitely going to watch more movies because I hate being in the real world. And I'll watch more movies and I'll tell you how I feel about them. And then you can, just ignore this. Like, just you ignore everything. Or you could, like it and be like, Irene, tell us more of your thoughts. And then I'll be like, okay, and I'll do that. So yeah, or not, or I'll just sit in pants I've sat in for, we'll just say the first day of quarantine to now. It's getting stanky up in here. Anyway, watch lots of movies and have lots of fun. Not just Tiger King, but like, you know, other things like older movies or movies you watched as a kid that you really liked. Or a movie that you read the book of and you wanted to see how it turns out. Spoiler alert, books are always better than movies. So I hope you all have a great day. And if you like more like morning coffee and discussing a book videos, like tell me and I'll do more. Okay, bye.